Hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing fantastic today. I'm Richard Lyons, and I'm back with another episode of the Lyons Den. Thank you for tuning in, if you are. Today's episode is going to be a little different. We're still going to be talking about movies, but not really about movie news. I saw this article. I was browsing Reddit, and I stumbled across it, and it's an article on independent.co.uk. I don't know if that means .com or whatever. That's the link, independent.co.uk. And what this article was about, I'll read the title to you. Pretty Boys Gone Bad, How Robert Pattinson and Daniel Radcliffe Found Cinematic Salvation in the Weird and Wonderful. That's the title of the article. So essentially what this article is about, it talks about Robert Pattinson, Daniel Radcliffe, and also Elijah Wood, and their paths and their very different paths of sort of shedding the image of the blockbuster characters that they all played. Elijah Wood being Frodo in Lord of the Rings, Daniel Radcliffe being Harry Potter, obviously, and Robert Pattinson being Edward Cullen in Twilight. And I think all three of them had to deal with it to varying degrees. And who I really want to talk about today, being a huge Harry Potter fan, as you can see behind me, I'm going to talk about Daniel Radcliffe and if we will ever see him in another blockbuster movie that isn't Harry Potter related. So let's talk about all their journeys for a second. So Elijah Wood, I'm going to start with him because I believe Lord of the Rings, I think Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, the first one might have came out in the same year, 2001, but I could be wrong about that. But I'm going to start with Elijah Wood. Now, he was in a few movies before being in Lord of the Rings. I know he was in one of the Back to the Futures, I think Part 2, and he was in some other stuff. And then he was cast as our favorite Hobbit, Frodo Baggins, in The Lord of the Rings. And those movies, what they did, I'm sure a lot of people know, they filmed the whole trilogy over the course of 1 year, and then they released them over the course of the next few years. Now, the reason I think that's his path has been different from Pattinson and Daniel Radcliffe is that the Lord of the Rings movies, I believe the Return of the King came out in either 2003 or 2004. So he's had a whole 16 years of his career to sort of shed that image of being Frodo Baggins. And I don't think he was quite I don't know if Daniel Radcliffe was really a heartthrob as Harry Potter, but I know Robert Pattinson was as Edward Cullen, but I don't think he was quite I'm just going to use the word heartthrob for this as the other two. I don't think they were like girls clamoring over Elijah Wood at the time, and I was very young. I could be wrong. But he really, while Frodo is the main character, there's a lot of other main characters that people attach to, Aragorn, Legolas, Gandalf, all these other people. But he's had a long time in between being Frodo Baggins and now, and he's had a lot of time to shed that image. And he's not really a major star these days at all. I know he had that show. I believe it was called Wilfred with the dog, the guy in the dog suit. But he's not in anything really mainstream. But I don't know if people are looking at him in movies now and thinking, I can't unsee Frodo Baggins. I don't know if he still has that attached to him. I don't see that when I watch movies because it's just been so long, and I feel like being Frodo, given that it didn't span across so many years, I feel like was helpful for him to move on from that. And while he hasn't been in anything major since then, I don't know if that's because people still associate him with Frodo or just by choice. And if he maybe isn't the greatest actor, if he's not an A-list guy, I don't think he's that great. I think he's good, but I don't know if he ever was really going to be, an A-list frontman for the rest of his career. But so I just want to talk about that and compare it to Pattinson and Daniel Radcliffe. And I think Daniel Radcliffe has it the worst of the three. The first Harry Potter movie came out in 2001, and the last one came out in 2011. That's 10 years of people basically only associating you with this one character. Robert Pattinson, I believe the first Twilight was either in 2007 or 2008, and it was like, let me just look up the release date of Breaking Dawn. Breaking Dawn Part 2 to be exact. All right, so Breaking Dawn Part 2 came out in 2012, and the first one came out in 2008. So that's 4 years. So Elijah Wood and Robert Pattinson were part of these characters for 3 to 4 years. I'm going to say 4 years for both of them. Daniel Radcliffe was Harry Potter for 10 years, and everyone only saw him as Harry Potter, really, for 10 years. I mean, he did some other stuff. Once around the time of the Order of the Phoenix, he was in that play, Equus, where he was naked with the horse, and he did some other stuff here and there, but nobody was associating him with anything other than Harry Potter. So when I look at, I think he's had the most difficult time of shedding that image, and because Harry Potter was so loved by so many people, it's hard for him to, get away from that and how popular it is. The difference between him and Robert Pattinson hated playing Edward Cullen. He wanted nothing to do with it after a certain point, and people were mostly, spewing venom at him for it. He got a lot of hate for being Edward Cullen, and I think he really wanted to get away from that and made it known that he didn't want to associate with that. Daniel Radcliffe doesn't speak ill on Harry Potter. He enjoyed his time doing it, and he did it for the longest of any of them. So I think it's interesting that how they brought them all into the article. They were all in the same situations, and I think to varying degrees. As of right now, I think Robert Pattinson has done the best job of shedding the Twilight image. I think he's put on the best performances, been in the better movies, and I think he's just a better actor than either Daniel Radcliffe or Elijah Wood. And he's actually now breaking back into the blockbuster game. He's going to be in Christopher Nolan's movie Tenet, and he's going to be Batman, who is one of the most popular characters in the world. I'm sure people, after the whole Twilight thing, if you said Robert Pattinson's going to want to play Batman, they'd be like, you're crazy. First of all, why would they want him as Batman? Second of all, he's not going to want to deal with all the bullshit that comes with being part of a franchise, and not only just a franchise, one of the most popular characters in the world. So I think Pattinson has done a good job of shedding that image, and now he's starting to break in to more blockbuster roles again, now that people are starting to realize he's more than Edward Cullen. He's an actor. He's a really good actor. I watched Good Time recently. He is phenomenal in that. The Lighthouse, he's great. And he takes on these weird and interesting roles, and he's done a very good job with them. Daniel Radcliffe, he's gone the same route. He takes on these weird, intriguing, and trippy roles, but I think he's been less successful in choosing the right movies and scripts to work with. Most of his movies that have come out since Harry Potter haven't been, he's had some hits, not really financially, probably no big blockbusters because he hasn't been in one. He's had some, decent critical hits, but he's mostly in movies that are either divisive or usually looked at as pretty bad. And while I do respect that he is doing what he wants, he's taking on roles that he wants and finds interesting, and that's cool. If he wants to do that for the rest of his career, that's awesome because I love him. Awesome guy. He's set for life after being Harry Potter. But I'm wondering if he is going to be able to move forward in the next few years and eventually be in another blockbuster movie and go the role that Pattinson went and be in another blockbuster movie. Or is he just going to be like Elijah Wood and, sort of be in the mainstream, but, as more of a secondary guy? No one's really clamoring for Elijah Wood. You don't see Elijah Wood in many big movies coming out. So who and what could Daniel Radcliffe do? Who could he play in the next blockbuster movie if he was to be one? And he has said he's into doing it. He's not writing it off, He would be in one. He said, it's all about the scripts. A lot of these indie movies give me more interesting and unique scripts compared to these big blockbusters with the studios. But, I'm not just saying no matter what. If it's something that intrigues me, I'll do it. And I did have one character in mind that I thought would be pretty interesting that he could play. And if this Flash movie ever does end up getting made and they make multiple of them, I think he could be a good Reverse Flash. Some people that might be a hot take. I think it is. I think he squares up across from Ezra Miller nicely. He's not this big intimidating guy that'll make Ezra Miller look like a little shrimp. And I don't think the Reverse Flash needs to be this guy that is big and intimidating. He's smart and he's a speedster just like the Flash, and he's obsessed with the Flash and he just wants to beat the Flash. I think Daniel Radcliffe could portray that sort of crazy and obsessive mentality that the Reverse Flash has, and I like the way they square up to each other. They're both like around the same height. They both honestly they look a little similar. They got similar jaw lines going. Ezra Miller's is probably a little more defined, but I like that. I think that would be cool. I think that'd be a nice way to break back into the game, being the arch nemesis of one of the most popular superheroes. It breaks that image of him being the good guy, Harry Potter. Harry Potter's the best guy. He's the chosen one. He's brave. He wants to save all his friends. He wants to help everyone out before himself, and he does what he has to do to defeat Voldemort, no matter what it takes, without sacrificing other people. He doesn't want anyone to get hurt. He wants to take the safest route possible to do what he has to do. And then to come in and be the Reverse Flash, that would shed that image, because the Reverse Flash is a murdering lunatic from the future that has one of the most powerful superpowers of all time. So I think that would be a cool role for him. I've seen other people throw out Wolverine in the past. After Hugh Jackman announced he was retiring, people were saying Wolverine, and people don't know Wolverine actually, and Daniel Radcliffe is very short. Wolverine is very short in the comics. He's not a very handsome, tall Hugh Jackman. He's a short man. It's probably not very good looking, but they're never going to cast someone not good looking as Wolverine at this point. But people were saying Wolverine. I don't know if I see that. If I see that sort of rage and anger in him, I kind of see more the Reverse Flash, calculating, more sinister, kind of quiet type villain in him. He was apparently rumored to play Moon Knight in the new Marvel Disney Plus show that they're making, Moon Knight, but he actually shot that down pretty recently, said they haven't reached out to him. He hasn't heard anything about it, which could be a lie, but doesn't sound like he's going to do that. So what is he going to do? I don't know. What do you guys think he's going to do? And I think the last option, which I don't want to see him do, because that would mean he hasn't really done a good job of shedding that image. The next blockbuster he might do, I believe, I think they're eventually going to make a Harry Potter movie when they're all older. I think that's just a cash grab right there. The movie could be good, but I think that would be something for Warner Brothers to bring in a lot of money, bring back the old cast, maybe have it have something to do with the kids and all that stuff. But I hope that's not the next time we see him in a blockbuster role. I hope it's not just him being Harry Potter again. I hope to see him, finally get out there and be, because comparing him again to Robert Pattinson has been shedding that perception in people's minds that he's just Edward Cullen, but he's in these very unique indie movies that not everyone sees. It's really people that are in the movie community and really into movies, and the movie what's it called? The movie, what's the god frickin' word? The industry, the movie industry, like the directors and writers all realizing that he actually is very talented, but I think the general masses don't realize how talented Robert Pattinson is, and now they're going to see in Tenet, in the Batman, hey, this guy's for real. And I think it might take those big roles that people are going out to see to finally shed that image among the masses of Edward Cullen. And I think that might be what Daniel Radcliffe has to do. If a studio is willing to bring him in to be a pretty major role in a blockbuster, maybe not starring in it, because I don't believe he's the star of Tenet, but he is the star of Batman. I'm talking about Pattinson, sorry. But for Daniel Radcliffe, go into a movie playing a role that's not similar to what you've played in the past and what you're known for, and I think that might be the best route for him to finally shed that image. And I really like Daniel Radcliffe. I would love to see him in some other stuff, and I would like to eventually, if they did, like I said, a Harry Potter movie with them all older, I would like to see that. I think that'd be pretty cool. If J.K. Rowling has a good idea, because what she says goes with Harry Potter. They can't do anything without her giving the okay. So if that was a thing, I would be very excited for it, and I would go see it. But I would love to see him finally break out there again and be in movies that are actually in theaters around me. I feel like all the movies he's in, I got to travel 40 minutes away to go to this small random theater that I don't know and see him in a movie. So maybe that's what it's time to do. He's done these indie projects. He's done all these side movies that people who are into the movie community are seeing, but the general audience doesn't know. So he's still Harry Potter to everyone. He's still circle glasses, scar on his head. So that's what I'm very interested to see where this goes. Everyone, I'm going to link that article in the comments. Go ahead and take a read. But I'm hoping to finally see Daniel Radcliffe come back into the spotlight, start taking on bigger blockbuster roles, and maybe we can see him start to blow up again, get back in the mainstream. And if he doesn't want to, that's good for him. Whatever you want to do, Daniel Radcliffe, I salute you and I love you. You're the man. But that's going to be it for this episode today. Go ahead and read that article. I think that the site might have a paywall, so if you don't want to pay, maybe sign up for free quick and then cancel it and read it really quick. But thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy watching, please give a subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If there's anything you'd like me to talk about in the future, some stuff in the movie news world, or maybe just some other articles you can send me that I could read that you think are interesting. And go check out the other show on the channel, The Memo. And I'll see you guys next time.